How much water fell?
Enough to fill Atlantic Ocean.
Now what was the water that fell? What was it like? I always liked that.
Water?
The water that fell in the flood, what was it like?
It was salty. What else can I say? It was a little warm described. It was salty. It was not really hot.
Other ancient documents tell of the thunderbolts of the planet god Jupiter. Velikovsky understood that these thunderbolts referred to electromagnetic discharges between planets. This led to his claim that radio noises must emanate from Jupiter. In 1955, radio noises from Jupiter were discovered. It was this prediction and discovery that finally convinced Einstein of the merit of Velikovsky's ideas.
I knew Einstein since 1921 or 22. At that time, I came from Russia just after I obtained my medical degree. Einstein was already a famous man, actually in the prime of his fame. My idea was to bring together the Jewish scholars and scientists from various disciplines and from various countries in one work which I called Scripta Universitatis. It has a longer title. This was my beginning with Einstein. I was the general editor. He was the editor of mathematics and physics. We met again in this country, and in 1940, again in 1946, but our real debate started soon after I moved to Princeton in 1952. And for 18 months, we discussed one subject, always the very same subject. And the point in the debate, always the same, was whether electrical magnetic fields are participating in the celestial mechanism, or only gravitation and inertia, as he would claim, because this was the view not only of his, but of all the scientific community. And so this was a debate. At one point in that debate, I offered in a letter in June of 1954 to stake our positions on a claim that I made, that Jupiter sends out radio noises. And if you wish, I said, it will be easy to find out. He wrote his comments on the margin as usual. 9 days before his death, but he was in good state yet. He wished to see me. I brought the news. That this was discovered. Radio noises were discovered by chance, and those who discovered them, two scientists of Washington, D.C., for weeks and weeks could not establish from where the noises came. They thought about some terrestrial origin, some neighboring station disturbance. Finally, they had to come to the conclusion that it was from extraterrestrial source, and namely, after more deliberation, from Jupiter. My wife was always present during those meetings, and after he died, she made the picture that you see on the wall. My wife was actually a sculptor, and she exhibited in the Metropolitan Museum and Whitney Museum and the Museum of Pennsylvania, Art Museum, many other places, got first prizes. but she was endowed with two talents. One is a violinist, chamber musician, and the other is a sculptor.
This prediction and confirmation of radio noises from Jupiter convinced Einstein to seek crucial experiments on Velikovsky's ideas. After Einstein's death, his estate wrote letters to this effect, but with no result.
Later on, when I felt, and I know Dr. Velikovsky felt, that a very considerable amount of evidence had piled up, which was very helpful, to put it mildly, to his side. And the resistance of the professional journals to taking all this seriously was still as great as it had been at the start. And I felt also myself a degree of obligation. I wanted to pay my respects to him, and I wanted to pay some of my intellectual debt to him. And so I wrote, and Harper's accepted, the second article, attempting to bring people up to date and give some of the items that had come along.
As late as 1959, the surface temperature of Venus was calculated to be roughly the same as that of the Earth. But in 1962, the Mariner probes to Venus found it to be 800 degrees Fahrenheit. The probes also found hydrocarbons in the atmosphere of Venus. In 1946, Velikovsky had stated these two tests, the heat of Venus and the presence of hydrocarbons, to be crucial to his idea that Venus is a newcomer to the solar system.
Now, my line of thought was this. Venus erupted from Jupiter only several thousand years ago. Jupiter, by the way, is 400 times heavier than Venus. And so it was the natal heat, and then the change of motion into heat when Venus, traveling on a extended ellipse, met on its way other celestial bodies, twice meeting the Earth. And electrical discharges also took place between Venus and other celestial bodies, even its parental body, Jupiter. These and other causes, radioactivity that was engendered, resulted in heat, and Venus was observed by the ancient as a very brilliant incandescent body, rivaling the sun in its brightness. So it is also described by the Chinese, by the Babylonians, by the Mexicans. I claim that it must be close to incandescent. And finally, 11 years after World's Ecology was published, after the radio noises were observed coming from Jupiter, other planets were investigated on radio signals, and radio signals coming from Venus were found, but of different nature, of thermal nature, indicating that Venus is hot. It was unbelieved, and therefore the main task of Mariner 2, Mariner first one didn't succeed, of Mariner 2 in December 1962 was to find out whether Venus is really hot. At that time, it was found that it is something like 600 degrees, and the announcement was made that it's most probably a mistaken result.